Shalom, and welcome back to B'nai Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. When you look in the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verse 3, it describes Moses. It says, now Moses himself was very humble, more so than any other human being on the earth, or literally, he was more humble than or from any other human being on the face of the earth. Now, let's understand what this verse is saying. Moses was so humble that he felt humble towards not just the great sages of his time, not just the great scholars, not just the pious people of his time, but from every person on the face of the earth. Moreover, the Torah is eternal. The Torah is infinite. Thus, this statement applies not only to the people that lived in his day, but to all people. Imagine Moses feels more humble than you? How could it be? Is this real? Now, the reason why we have these questions, perhaps, is because we misinterpret. We lack the proper understanding in the word humility. Most of us associate being humble, that is humility, with feeling lowliness, with feeling low. Now, that is not correct. You see, because if you think about it, the question is, Moses feels humble, but Moses didn't know who he was. He didn't realize by now that he's the person that was the conduit through which God implemented the 10 plagues, took the Jews out of Egypt, split the sea, brought down the manna, brought down the Torah, brought down the tablets, so on and so forth. How could it be that he's humble? And if you think about it, if humility means to feel a sense of lowliness, then not only it cannot be the correct meaning of it, but in fact, it would be living a lie. This is untrue. This isn't the truth. The truth is that Moses is this fantastically great person. There is no one like Moses, as later at the end of the Torah it says, there was never a prophet like Moses. And Moses knew that. He knew that your average person doesn't just go up to heaven for 40 days and 40 nights. Oh, not once, twice, 3 times. He knew that you just don't get to speak to God. No one even knows his phone number, so to speak. So how exactly would he feel low? That is not true. And if it's not true, then it's a lie. And if it's a lie, it cannot be Moses. Certainly the Torah cannot hail this as something positive because it's not true. The Torah tells us again and again to distance ourselves from anything that is the untruth. Rather, humility does not mean that one doesn't recognize their virtues and accomplishments. On the contrary, one does recognize their virtues and the contrary. But let's take in the case of Moses. Moses clearly knew that he was the one, he was that human being that became almost like a godly figure that God chose to implement through him all these great, wonderful things and to give us the Torah, something that is for all generations, for all time, something that totally transformed the world. That all happened through him. He knew that. And he appreciated that. He understood who he was. He understood his position. He understood what he had accomplished and what he is yet to accomplish. However, Moses made the following calculation. Moses felt and was certain about the fact that all he is, everything he is only because God had provided him this opportunity. God had given him these talents. God had given him these qualities, and that is why he is who he is. And he made the following conclusion. and he sincerely believed it. And this is what led to his humility. Moses sincerely believed that if anyone else, may it be you, may it be me, anyone else would have given these exact opportunities, meaning the same upbringing and the same talents and the same intellectual qualities, the same emotional qualities, that Moses felt that that person would have done far better than him. In other words, that person would have utilized it even better and greater than he did. And that's what led him to humility. Of course, when he had his task to do, he had to lead the people. He couldn't just feel low. He couldn't just feel humble in the sense that he is in some way, perhaps, compromising his position. That's forbidden. When one is a leader, one has to behave like a leader. When one is teaching, one has to behave like a teacher. But he understood that he has nothing to be arrogant about. He has nothing to feel bigger than someone else about, because it all comes from Hashem. It all comes from God. So we all have talents. We all have, at least, each of us has at least one advantage over all other human beings, something unique that God gave us. Too often people use that as a means to become arrogant, to feel or to look at themselves as being greater than someone else or better than others. But when we look at it from this perspective, everything I have is what was given to me by God. Thankfully, I utilized it. Thankfully, I had the right state of mind to make the decision to utilize those talents, those qualities, those opportunities that God gave me, that God gives me. But that doesn't make me better than anyone else. Because if I didn't have those opportunities, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be where I am. And therefore, one has to be humble. Because if one truly believes in this, one appreciates their accomplishments, but one realizes that it's not they who did it, but rather it was the opportunity that was given to them that made it possible to come about.